Hello, everybody. Hope that you are doing well, and welcome to this brief little segment. I'm going to touch base with you on Library Boxes of Trenton. You can always send us a message on the Facebook page, Library Boxes of Trenton, and then we can get some information to you. There's a few books that I have in my arsenal, so to speak, on my desk that I've been reading a lot, and I'm going to go through them just to let you know what I'm reading, and then to hear what you're reading too. And maybe we can collaborate, and maybe in the future we could do like a digital book club or something like that. But this is a total rethink by David McCourt. Now, I met David McCourt through Vance Holland, who is a Trentonian. And Vance introduced me to his friend David McCourt. This book is about why entrepreneurs should act like revolutionaries. And during our meeting, a couple things that had struck me was the fact that he's very open about him growing up Irish, and that he is an Irish billionaire, and that he realizes that there's different ways that we can benefit. We need to get this information into the youth. The idea that I had was to maybe have this like presented in some sort of way to other groups. And Vance came up with the idea of maybe doing a presentation to high school students and to see about what they would like to do, and have David McCourt come to Trenton and to do a little program. Stay tuned for that. That may be coming down later, but Total Rethink with David McCourt. Freeway Rick Ross. Now, I met Freeway Rick Ross, the real Rick Ross, not the Rick Ross, the musician, but the Rick Ross. This is his autobiography, and I met him through Black Cannabis and some events that they were doing. He's a friend of several folks in the cannabis industry here locally, Phil Charles, Leo Bridgewater, a bunch of those folks, Phil Dumais, he knows all of them. And I'm going to be reading this, and I had a chance to meet him and chat with him at a cannabis event here in Trenton, and it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics of this and how this all plays out as cannabis progresses and it becomes, what do we say, an opportunity for people to make a lot of money. But what about the folks who have been incarcerated, et cetera? But that should be pretty interesting. And Rick also said he'd be willing to sit down and chat as well. So that will be a dope interview. Obituary for Hometown. This is, I believe, a thesis, and it was written by Judith Fiorella Kosovars and Kovisovars. And a few years ago, I wanted to get Judith back to Trenton to talk about this, because I felt as though the information that was in this book was stunning, stunning in particular to the portion of Trenton over by where the capital city farm is, the police department, as well as that light industrial area that's over there. And this book talks specifically about that, about the urban planners, the politicians, the real estate investors, et cetera, and what they have done, which did some really horrible things to the folks who live over there. And I believe I can't remember the exact date when it was, but it seems like this area is still going through a lot of challenges, and I wonder if this is still the ramifications or the residuals of what took place. This book is pretty interesting. Obituary for a Hometown by Judith Fiorella Kosovars. And it kind of hurts me a little bit, because I think that we could have accomplished having her come here or do an event based upon this book, but it just didn't happen. So maybe that's something we could do in the near future. Most folks know I'm an advocate and a spokesperson for cannabis and the use of cannabis for health. And this book I received through Black Cannabis, and this is by Chris Duvall. And this book is The African Roots of Marijuana. And a lot of folks will say, okay, well, that's a pretty interesting topic. Chris Duvall is not a person of color, but he does very extensive research into the African roots of cannabis and marijuana. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But did you guys know some of the different names for cannabis? Maybe you'll find out later. And I want to make sure that we give a big shout out to T.E. Williams. Many of you will have in the area know Trish Williams. Trish is a Trentonian, and her family has done some amazing things. She not only is an author of I forget the exact total number of books, but she's helping so many others write books. And I am one of those ones that she's going to be helping write my first book. My book is loosely titled, no, I'm not going to say loosely, it's My Black Cannabis Experience. And we're going to be talking about literally the cannabis plant and marijuana through my life, from my childhood experience at seeing it, finding out what those seeds were, that special kind of smell, but then also using it, as a child and as a teenager up into, the abstaining for that large portion of time, and then the reintroduction to it as something that could be um, a health improver as opposed to some pharmaceutical drugs and things that are often prescribed. So we're going to be talking about that in my book. But a big shout out to Trish Williams, and her company is called R.E.A.C.H Fiction, R.E.A.C.H Fiction, and there you can find out some of the details about how you can get your book written as well. She's walking me through the whole process, and we're going to be interviewing about that soon. So keep your eyes open for that. The Green Amendment. This is by Maya K. Van Rossum. This is a bit lengthy because this is like information. It's about the environment, and Maya is the Delaware River keeper. So literally the whole length of the Delaware, she works with her nonprofit organization to make sure that the river is properly maintained, that anything that is done is not going to have any harmful effects to the river, to the folks who live along in the river city towns, etc. My idea is to have a bit more of a conversation and communication with Maya about the impacts of the Delaware River and us here in Trenton, and what we're doing with that as far as making sure that we're taking care of our environment. I've got a book here by Bart Jackson. Bart Jackson, the book is The Art of the CEO. And many of you may have recognized Bart. He's been on the Library Boxes of Trenton podcast. He's also part of Princeton Television, and he has also been on the Trenton 365 show, sharing about his publication company, Bart's Books, but also talking about women in leadership, women in the business scene, and just different ways of business management. And this is by no means the final stack that I have. This is just the one that I grabbed because it was close by. But I've got two books here by Tom Zaki. Now, these two books are by Tom Zaki, who is the founder and of TerraCycle. TerraCycle is an international company based out of Trenton, New Jersey, and their business is trash. I often ask myself, well, if that's the case, I mean, why is trash an issue in Trenton? Shouldn't we be working with the global leader in what to do with trash? We're not. Why? Maybe we'll find out. But yeah, I'm reading these books by Tom Zaki as well. Big shout out to Tom. And we're trying to do some different things, man, to make sure that we're gathering this information and we're sharing it and that we're applying it. And one of my favorite readings that I have right now is, I am a big comics fan, and I'm also a huge fan of Batman. I'm a Batman Joker fan. They're like my top two. But I am reading with my son The Three Jokers. Batman and Three Jokers. The artwork in here is awesome. In addition to that, we get a chance to bond over this, which is also some fun stuff. And it also brings me back to my childhood, talking about comic books and so forth. And speaking of comic books, let me see if I can grab this. The vintage jammies here. For those of you who are comic heads, all right, enough of that. So, Library Boxes of Trenton, share your ideas and your thoughts. Let's build a better community through sharing what we're doing with the stuff that we're reading, the literacy, the good things that we're feeling as we read, etc. Jacque Howard here, and remember, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.